Do you feel like the life and the baby you dream of is completely out of reach? That you have no idea how to get from your current reality into the one that you want more than anything? When you feel so frustrated and so angry at your body, at everything that hasn't worked, and while everyone around you seems to have it so easily, it is such a hard place to be, and one I spent so many years trying to get out of. On today's episode, I want to explain exactly how to shift out of that energy of why me and into the energy of attracting everything that you want.
Welcome to your journey to fertility. This is the podcast that blends both science with spirit to give you all the tools you need as you navigate your fertility journey. I'm your host, Jennifer Edmonds, and for the last 15 years, I've been helping women on their journeys to motherhood and beyond. I believe that combining the latest scientific research along with the best energetic and mindset practices will help you to avoid putting your life on hold and bring you closer to your baby. Here each week, you'll learn ways to support your fertility and trust your body so you can stop stressing that you'll never have a baby and finally walk your path to motherhood. This is the Your Journey to Fertility podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. I am again so excited for today's topic. This episode is going to follow on beautifully from last week's episode about how to use manifestation on your journey of trying to conceive. So if you haven't listened to that episode, please go back and have a quick listen to that one first. In that episode, I gave you some really tangible, really practical tips and a couple of exercises that you can go through to help you really unwind where your triggers are and how these triggers are affecting your thoughts and what subconscious beliefs might be sitting underneath them. There's a really couple of good ways to go deeper and find out what really is running the show in the background. Once you have started to address your triggers and really come into that place of knowing how those emotions that come from the triggers then show up in your body, and then you try and take a few steps back and perhaps ask yourself, where are these beliefs coming from? Where have they originated? Once we've done that and we've started to unwind some of those thought patterns that we are really noticing are causing us a lot of grief and a lot of disharmony on our fertility journey, this is where what we're talking about today in this episode comes in. And this is all about healing that heart-womb connection and really embodying that sense of what it is that you want for your future. So embodying the life that you want to live in the future. Embodiment is the ultimate way to manifest. When you can master this, you can attract anything that you want into your life. So first of all, what is the heart-womb connection? This is an important thing to talk about. In traditional Chinese medicine theory, there is a direct link between the channel connecting the heart and the womb. They call it the Bao Mai. And they believe that any disruption to the heart can cause imbalances in the womb space. So things like chronic stress, where your heart rate is often increased and there's tightness and heaviness that you feel in your chest from anxiety. This has a direct impact on the uterus and it causes, as the Chinese medicine doctors believe, menstrual imbalances and PMS. And we know, as science shows us, many years on from the origins of traditional Chinese medicine, that we now understand the effects of stress on the menstrual cycle. We know the effects of increased cortisol levels and how they impact things like progesterone and ovulation, cycle length, PMS, all of the things that flow on for that. So they were absolutely onto something. There is that very deep connection between your heart and your womb. In yoga, the heart is also the area of self-love and self-compassion. So sure, we can, relate to that feeling of not trusting our bodies, of feeling really frustrated by your body. It isn't doing what it's designed to, what it's meant to do, what comes so easily to so many people. And even when you make so many changes and you follow all of your doctor's advice, you take all the supplements, you eat the perfect diet, that sense of your body still not doing the things that you want it to do really creates a lot of blockages within that heart chakra, within that heart space. And we need to be able to heal this connection between your heart center and your mind before you can start to embody the life that you want. When you find compassion and forgiveness and even empathy for yourself and your body on this journey, this is where you can start to move forward. Imagine if it was your very best friend in the world, or your sister, or someone really close to you who was going through this journey. You wouldn't be constantly berating them. You should eat better. You should have gotten more sleep. You shouldn't have had that glass of wine for the first time in 6 months. You wouldn't berate that beautiful friend of yours, but we do it to ourselves. So we need to start treating ourselves the way that we would someone that we really love. When you think about it, the heart and the womb, it's sort of the life force energy of everything between you and your baby. I mean, your heart beating is the life force energy for everything that you do. And your womb is your baby's first home. That is where life is created. So that connection between the two is incredibly powerful for helping you to connect a little more deeply to your baby. There's an exercise or a breathwork exercise that I love to do with my students. And this is something that I encourage as a daily practice if you are really finding that disconnection between you and your body and you're really frustrated with how things are turning out. It's a really simple one. You place a hand on your heart. You place another hand on the low belly. I like to have left hand on heart, right hand on lower belly. And we come into this practice called the heart-womb connection breath. And that is a way for you to start tuning inwards, becoming aware of how these areas are feeling within your body. And we simply follow the breath. As we inhale, we follow energy up to the heart. And as we exhale, we feel that energy returning to the womb. And we just continue that breath for a few minutes in and out. So that is something that you might want to practice at home. I want to point out, if this is something that you do think is coming up for you, if you really are frustrated with your body, go back to some of the episodes that I have shared on trust and self-care and getting out of this mindset of my body has to do what I want before I can love it or love myself again, before I can feel like I will start doing things that are good for my body after it does the things that I want it to do. And there's an episode I did about how to stop doing all the things when you're trying to conceive. I think that one was incredibly helpful for getting you out of that mindset. So we talked about this heart-womb connection breath. You need a daily practice of connection to your body. So maybe it is that simple hand over heart, hand over belly exercise where you breathe, you feel all those emotions, you let them come through you, you're not trying to push them away. This can be very emotional, something that can bring up a lot, especially if you have been on this journey for a long time. So go slowly. Let all those emotions be there. Feel them in your body. But if you need to cry, you need to let them out. You need to stop pushing down everything that you've been through. And side note, did you know that tears actually physically contain a lot of the hormone cortisol? So the more you cry, the more you release that cortisol from your body, and the less it's going to be able to then circulate through your bloodstream and affect your hormones. So crying is incredibly healing for many, many reasons, but that is one of them. So at the same time that you are able to establish this connection, this trust and relationship to your body, we are then more able more easily to get into a place of nervous system regulation. And we talked about this last week. We cannot be manifesting a life that we want from a chronically dysregulated place. If we are rushing about our day, the first thing we do in the morning is we're checking emails, we're checking social media accounts, we are rushing from one place to the next. We never slow down, we never stop. We throw into that, fertility appointments. You've got to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning before work. You've got to fit in all of your holistic therapies as well, getting to acupuncture, making sure that you're not triggered by your boss sending you an email at 6:30 at night. Our life is stressful. And if you are running around and sitting in this really dysregulated state where cortisol is running the show, we can't manifest what we want from that place. So we need to be able to tap into that calm energy, that regulated energy, and then into the energy of the version of you who already has everything that you want. So right now, if you have been living in that state of survival mode, you're chronically stressed, overwhelmed, sleep issues, you know that trying to conceive is taking over your life, your nervous system doesn't have capacity to hold the life that you want a year, 2 years from now. It is impossible for your nervous system to comprehend past that 2-week interval. If you are so worried about what that pregnancy test is going to tell you, or that next scan that you're going to, or what that next test result is going to come back as, your brain and your nervous system isn't able to get past that and picture the life that you want well beyond this time of trying to conceive. So what I mean by this, if you were trying to get pregnant this month, so are you already planning what you're going to do if it doesn't work? What the next steps are, what the next treatments are to try? Will you go and see a new specialist? If you are constantly living your life from, well, if this doesn't work, I'll do this and I'll do this, and you're always planning for the worst case scenario, it is really hard for your brain to even consider being pregnant or having your family. If it feels like the default thinking is always the other shoe is going to drop, this isn't going to work, how is your body able to even contemplate coming into that place where you've got the family that you dream of? If you constantly tell yourself, I don't want to get my hopes up, I really don't want to get too excited about this, what you're actually doing is telling your nervous system, this isn't possible, that the life that you want isn't possible. So how do we get around this? It sounds really overwhelming, and it is a lot, but this is actually a really beautiful practice. And if you went through last week's episode and you did some of that deeper work of reframing some of those really scary beliefs that you have found have been coming up, this stuff is going to feel really easy and really fun. Sitting into the energy of what you want in the future is beautiful. It brings up a lot of joy. It's a blissful experience. So we need to time travel a little bit here. Bear with me. I want you to think about living as though you already have everything you want. And when I've heard about manifestation spoken about in a few different places on the internet, I've often heard people say, I want you to live your life as though you're already pregnant. No, not quite, because if you were pregnant, you would be quite restrictive in quite a few things you do, which is normal. We don't want to be having lots and lots of alcohol on the weekends. We probably want to be getting more rest. We would want to be watching a little bit of what we eat. Some foods aren't safe during pregnancy. That I find will create more stress and dysregulation. If you are going about your life thinking, well, what would I decide in this moment if I was 8 months pregnant? Well, no, you wouldn't lie on your back. You wouldn't have that glass of champagne. You wouldn't be having all of the soft cheeses and the meats from the buffet. So that's quite a restrictive energy. I don't want you to think about what would I do if I was pregnant. I want you to be able to feel into the energy of the person who has already had their family. Let's zoom out way into the future. You've already got 1, 2, 3, however many children it is that you want. You want to be able to tap into the energy of her. So here's how we do this. So again, we need to come into a place of regulation. So however that works best for you, if you need to shake out your body for a few moments, get out any nervous or sort of tension energy that's sitting in there, do that. And then take a few deep breaths. You might want to slow down your exhale and really come into a place of groundedness where your body feels safe and supported. You've got that sense of calm about you. If you're driving, maybe this is something that you want to come back to if you're listening to this on the podcast. So just for a moment, I want you to get really clear on what it is that you want. Be really clear. And not what you don't want. I don't want to go through IVF. I don't want to have to do these injections again. No. What it is that you want. I want a baby. I want a second baby. I want my whole family to be complete. And how do you want that to feel? This is the thing that really starts to move the needle. So yes, you can have the baby and the family that you want, but do you want to feel anxious about it? Do you want to be stressing every moment of their childhood and worried about every moment of your pregnancy and thinking, gosh, is this the day that it's all going to be taken away from me? No. You want to feel ease and joy. You want to be able to trust that your journey has unfolded exactly the way that you wanted it to. How do you feel when you think about the future? And how will you go about your day? You're not going to be constantly, showing up and thinking, oh gosh, it's just, this might be good today, but tomorrow I'm so scared and so worried it's all going to be taken away from me. You want to be able to sit in that joy and that energy of today, and that you have everything you want. How you feel when you think about the future reveals your beliefs about that thing. So get clear. What do you want, and how do you want this to show up in your life? I want you to see it as already yours. Please know that the brain cannot tell what is real and what is imagined. You can use that analogy of when elite athletes are about to go onto the field or to perform whatever elite sport they are. They often use a visualization exercise. They'll close their eyes and they'll picture themselves doing it absolutely perfectly. They'll feel in their body how it is to hit the ball or land from that gymnastics move, or I don't know, any other sports, finish first over the finish line. So I want you to picture yourself in that position where you have your family, and just like those elite athletes, picture yourself in everything that you dream of. And I want you to feel how it shows up in your body. It might help you to zoom into a particular scene. So maybe it is a holiday, a family holiday where everyone is gathered together in the same room. Your kids are running around, your partner's there, your family's there. What can you see? What can you hear? What's around the room? What can you smell? Is someone cooking in the kitchen? What are the colors that surround you? And what are the feelings that are then created in your body? Make it as vibrant and as real as you want it to. And I want you just to sit in that energy for a couple of minutes. And I want you to make this a daily practice. You can go back to stressing about everything that's not going to work for the rest of your day, but for at least those 2 minutes, can you sit into that energy of having everything you want? Because the more you do this, the more your brain starts to believe that it's possible. And that has enormous flow-on effects for the rest of your life. It will affect your thoughts, all of your beliefs, your behaviors, how you show up, how you view your whole journey. So I invite you to do this once a day, and you can do that in relation to or in connection with that heart-womb connection breath. So hand on chest, hand on belly. Let's connect between those two beautiful energy centers, and then visualize and feel into the future that you really want. That is already yours. A few other things that I want to mention on this. As you're going through this process, and it is hard, and it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to tap into that future energy of the woman who has everything that you want and think, cool, I'm not going to be triggered by anything anymore. I'm going to trust 100% that my baby's on the way. No, you're going to still struggle. And there will be times and there will be days that are really, really hard. But along the way, I want you to look for evidence that everything you want is coming to you. What little changes are happening? Notice them, celebrate them. For example, if you have quite an irregular cycle, perhaps you start to notice that things begin to balance. Your PMS symptoms reduce. Maybe you start to fall asleep more easily. You're not constantly whirring through that rumination and everything going around in your brain that keeps you awake at night. Maybe you just have more of a sense of calm and peace when you wake up in the morning. Maybe you find your relationships are a little easier to manage, especially those relationships with friends or family members that have the life that you really want. So keep looking for signs along the way of things that are evidence that your journey is changing and that everything you want is starting to come to you. And I would invite you to make a note, perhaps in a journal or a little notes app on your phone. Write down everything that you start to notice and visit that list as often as you can, because it's so nice to remind yourself of these little things that start to come in. This can feel weird, and like everything, it's a practice. This is probably a little more towards the woo side than last week's episode, where I really wanted to give you an example of how manifestation can be quite scientific. But this really does invite a little bit more of the woo-woo energy, which I think is great, because we're hardwired to really look for that higher power, that sense of purpose, that everything is coming together and that there was someone guiding us this whole time. But it is a practice, and we need to take time to daily visit that version of you. Visit her as often as you can. And if it's something that you need to do as part of a group, I find that collective energy of being in community incredibly important. So perhaps that's where you want to go and find a meditation class where it helps you to get into that state of regulation. All of the programs that I offer are always group focused, so it is wonderful to be able to bring yourself into a room of like-minded people, and that energy of community is incredibly healing. Then you can start to ask yourself, how would she show up in life? How would that version of you show up in your life today? Not necessarily the 8-month pregnant version. That version of you that already has the life that you want. Would she be stressed out because she can't get to acupuncture for the 3rd time this week? Is she stressed out because she forgot to take her supplements after dinner last night? Probably not. She's probably going to enjoy a glass of wine occasionally, if that helps you to really feel connected to the partner or the event that you're at or whatever it might be. And I'm not saying that we should just go ahead and throw out the window everything that we're doing to support our fertility, but what would she have done differently if she knew for absolute certain that her baby would be here in 6 months, 12 months from now? She probably wouldn't be as focused on doing everything perfectly. And again, this is going to be a moment by moment, day by day decision and choice that you have to make. But when you can tap into that version of you, the one you see in your visions, the one that moves with certainty, clarity, and ease, and knowing that she got everything that she ever wanted, that's a choice. She has the confidence and the certainty that if she isn't pregnant this month, or maybe not the next month, she knows her baby is on the way and time won't matter. Oh, that's such a big sentence to say to someone who is stuck in the middle of this journey. Time won't matter when you have your baby. You'll look back and it will feel like that whole period of time just collapsed. And it was meant to happen when it happened. That version of you in the future is a frequency that you tap into each moment as often as you can through your day. And just to a point where it becomes second nature. And you don't have to use this exercise as a way just to get through your fertility journey. It can be about manifesting the career that you want, maybe the next job that you want, the house that you want, the life that you dream about. Start looking at your life from a bigger perspective, and what else is it that you're really wanting to call in, and what has been put on pause as you've been trying to conceive. And tapping into the energy of all of those other things that you're able to bring into your life in the future, again, becomes really, really powerful. So one last thing that I want to leave you with today that I think is really important to mention when we're talking about manifesting, and I mentioned this last week, I often get told that people get pretty triggered when they're talking to these like manifestation experts, and it's sort of about, well, did I do this properly, or did I do this correctly? And it kind of then ends up, well, everything's meant to happen for a reason. And what I'm going through is a way to kind of uncover what is meant for me on this journey. And sure, maybe sometimes a little bit of that is true, but this idea of what's meant for you will come to you, I think is a really awful thing to say to someone who's struggling to have a baby, especially if you've been through loss. I mean, how can you say to someone, your pregnancy loss or all of your losses were meant to happen? I mean, maybe it's led you to a certain part of your life that you wouldn't have had otherwise, but I don't think that that is a helpful thing to have to remind yourself of. So when we are talking about manifesting, yes, I can look back at my life now and understand how all of the puzzle pieces fit together. But this idea of everything happens for a reason, I don't actually believe is true. I don't think that everything you go through is happening for you. Sometimes just really shitty things happen and it isn't fair. And no, you don't have to feel grateful for all of these. But it's how we move through these experiences that changes us. And sometimes, what we go through can be our greatest catalyst for healing and for changing your life in a way that becomes better. And you learn along the way, and I think this is more important, you learn what you don't want. You learn how to put your needs first. You learn what you need in order to build the life that you really, really want. Because if this journey hadn't happened for you, maybe you'd still be playing small. Maybe you wouldn't have found that connection to your body. Maybe you hadn't regained your health in a way that wouldn't have happened. Maybe your relationship wouldn't have blossomed quite in the way that it has, whatever it might be along the way that you've encountered. And I just hope, and one day you can look back at this and know that your life will be forever richer and more vibrant because you had the courage to address what you were going through and you got through it and you got through to the other side. And that is something you should celebrate. You should celebrate yourself every day. If you're going to go and do this deeper work, you should really, really celebrate it because it's big. So thank you for joining me on this episode. I hope that you found this helpful. Before we finish up, I just want to say that I appreciate you being here so, so much. I love receiving your comments, your messages throughout the week. If you want to send me any of your feedback, please feel free to shoot me an email or reach out to me on Instagram, send me a DM. This podcast is now also available on YouTube. So if you're more of a visual person, you want to feel like you're having like a face-to-face chat with me, you can watch this whole episode on my YouTube channel. They will be uploaded weekly alongside the podcast. And what was I going to say to finish? If you could leave me a review, that is the very best way to help get this podcast out to as many people as possible. So thank you. Thank you so, so much for being here. Now, on the next episode of the podcast next week, we are speaking with Dr. Katie Rose. She is a naturopathic doctor as well as a fertility and a mindset coach. She's one of those ultimate blends of the science and the spirit, and she's awesome. And I cannot wait to have you back here next week for that episode. She is going to be speaking about how emotions affect fertility, overcoming subconscious blocks, and everything that she goes through flows on so beautifully from these last 2 episodes that we've had about manifesting. So until then, I am sending you all of my wishes as you continue your own journey to fertility. The most common thing I hear from students who are on their fertility journey is that the stress of trying to conceive has taken over their life. Your days end up being filled with endless appointments, navigating pregnancy announcements. You're trying to eat right, take all your supplements, and it is all you think about from the moment you wake up. I designed the Element Fertility Yoga course to support your body, your mind, and your mental health in 3 important ways: to synchronize your hormones, increase circulation and blood flow, and to help regulate your nervous system. But on top of this, the greatest gift that you can give yourself throughout this journey is a sense of peace, to help you calm your mind and just make this process feel easier. Every single one of my students tell me that this is the first thing they notice after starting a yoga, meditation, and breathwork practice. But on top of this, you have the amazing benefit of actually supporting and increasing your fertility. Studies have shown that those participating in Mind-Body programs as they're trying to conceive have success rates 3 times greater than those who don't. The course I've designed walks you through natural conception as well as fertility treatments and IVF cycles. And the best part is you can work through it at your own pace in the comfort of your home. The practices start from just 10 minutes per day. To learn more, visit elementpilatesyoga.com or see the link in the show notes.